Just days after the dramatic headlines out of the World Economic Forum in Davos, where US-Europe relations appeared to be at a breaking point, the story has taken another dramatic turn. Trade wars were looming. Transatlantic alliances were shaking. Markets were jittery. But this week, something shifted. Threatened tariffs disappeared. Stock markets rallied. Political backlash erupted. And a new framework was announced, one that may reshape Atlantic relations in the months ahead. Today, we'll unpack what just happened, why the tension escalated, how markets reacted, and what this means for the future of global politics. To understand this latest twist, we need a quick recap. Just before the World Economic Forum, US President Donald Trump tied his controversial interest in Greenland to threats of tariffs on European NATO allies. He said European resistance to US ambitions would lead to punitive tariffs rising as high as 25%, a move that sparked outrage across Brussels and capitals from Copenhagen to Paris. That threat was widely seen as a diplomatic escalation, one that risked both transatlantic trade and NATO unity. European Parliament members even suspended approval of a previously negotiated US-EU trade agreement in protest, calling the tariff gambit unacceptable. Markets reacted negatively. Safe haven assets rose. Volatility climbed. And concern over transatlantic unity intensified. Then, this week, events took an unexpected turn. This is NovusNarrator, context beyond the headlines. While in Davos, President Trump and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte engaged in closed-door talks on the Greenland issue. According to multiple reports, the outcome was a framework of a future deal on Greenland and Arctic cooperation, and crucially, the removal of immediate tariff threats against European allies. Trump publicly stated that, based on this understanding, he would drop the planned tariffs that were supposed to begin in early February. He even ruled out the use of white military force to take control of Greenland, a major point of concern among European leaders. In essence, the standoff was defused, at least for now, by shifting the conflict into a long-term negotiation framework rather than immediate punitive action. What looked like a looming transatlantic trade war suddenly looked like political theatre. To this, the market breathed a sigh of relief. The impact on global markets was immediate. Across Europe, major stock indexes climbed. Germany's DAX rose about 1.2%. France's CAC 40 jumped nearly 1.3%. And the UK's FTSE 100 also gained ground. In the US, the Dow Jones and S&P 500 closed higher after news that tariff threats were off the table, and that Arctic security cooperation was now framed as a negotiation rather than coercion. Analysts described the market move as a relief rally. Investors responding not to new growth, but to reduced geopolitical risk. For weeks, markets had been priced for potential disruption. Now, traders quickly priced in less uncertainty. But despite the positive movement, many analysts warned that this calm could be temporary. That's because the details of this framework remain vague. Do you wonder, what exactly is this framework? Here's where the story gets complex. Trump and Rutte framed their agreement as a future framework deal on Greenland and the Arctic, but they provided few specifics in public statements. Trump called it long-term and infinite, suggesting it has no fixed end date and could define future cooperation on territorial rights, military presence, and resource security in the Arctic region. Yet European critics, including some Danish and Greenlandic politicians, remained skeptical. One Greenlandic parliamentarian clearly opposed any NATO involvement over sovereignty or mineral rights. The tension here isn't just about trade, it's about sovereignty, identity, and strategic influence. In the Arctic, Greenland may be sparsely populated, but its geography and potential mineral wealth makes it geopolitically valuable. And when sovereignty is on the table, emotions and politics quickly intensify. This has brought about a political backlash in Europe. The diplomatic U-turn didn't sit well with everyone. Despite moves to calm markets, many European leaders continued to express frustration. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz warned that the world is entering an age of great power politics, where alliances must be stronger and Europe more unified in responding to unpredictable US leadership. Merz's comments underscore a broader European dilemma. Europe wants stable transatlantic relations, but not at the cost of being coerced or sidelined. There's also a growing rift among nationalist and populist leaders in Europe who previously supported Trump, now criticizing his tactics. In Germany, France, Italy, and the UK, key figures from populist parties broke ranks with Trump over the Greenland standoff, seeing it as a violation of national sovereignty and even nationalist principles. This illustrates an important point. Alliances built on shared rhetoric can fracture when national interests are perceived to be under threat. Now on to NATO's role and the Trump whisperer. A recurring subplot through all this has been the role of one NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Amid the diplomatic storm, Rutte emerged as a critical figure in bridging the divide between Trump and European leaders. Reuters even described him as the WAC Trump whisperer, somebody whose personal rapport and tactical approach helped him defuse a crisis that could have fractured NATO relations. Rutte's diplomatic style, blending flattery, pragmatism, and historical credibility, helped steer the conversation from tariffs and demands back toward negotiation and cooperation. NATO isn't a trade body, but the alliance's unity was a major concern throughout this episode, and maintaining it required not just economic compromise, but strategic diplomacy. Rutte's role shows that even in a fraught geopolitical climate, personal relationships and negotiation skills can still matter. The political drama at Davos wasn't limited to US and European governments. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky used his platform at the World Economic Forum to publicly rebuke European leaders for what he described as inaction in the face of Russian aggression. Zelensky didn't mince words. He accused Europe of talking without truly acting, saying the continent appears more interested in discussion than decisive support. He also called for stronger action against Russian oil exports, urging seizure and repurposing of Russian-flagged vessels, and stressed that real security guarantees depend on robust US involvement. Zelensky's address adds another layer to the transatlantic tension. It signals frustration from allied nations who feel Europe is not pulling its weight, even as transatlantic coordination is tested by disputes like the Greenland crisis. So what does this all add up to? On the surface, the tariff threat has been averted. For now, global markets responded accordingly. But beneath that calm lies a deeper realignment. Transatlantic relations are evolving, and not always smoothly. The Greenland episode revealed that US leverage is increasing. Even with allies, European unity is sometimes fragile. NATO remains a critical but tested institution. Domestic politics in Europe and the US influence global diplomacy. This isn't just diplomacy, it's geopolitics in motion. The bottom line is, the Davos follow-up has not resolved the larger tensions between the United States and Europe. It has postponed a crisis while revealing its depth. What happened this week was not a trade war, but it could have become one. Instead, what followed was a more temporary diplomatic solution that calmed markets but left many questions unanswered. And the world is watching. Because when major powers cannot find a stable path forward, even among allies, uncertainty ripples across politics, economies, and societies. If you found this breakdown helpful, we explore how global alliances are shifting in real time. Subscribe to NovusNarrator for calm, in-depth explainers without the noise. And let us know in the comments. Do you think this framework deal will hold, or is it just a pause in a bigger conflict? We'll be watching together.